Hey guys, welcome into the NWGA football single A preview show. Man, we're going to cover 6A and 7A today, as long as the internet allows us to. We tried to, we tried to do 6A last week, man, and my internet was acting up. And if anybody has an extra satellite truck sitting out in the backyard, man, we'll be glad to take it.
Yeah, man.
Benton, what's going on,
It's
man?
uh, it's tough. It's tough. Just trying to do some additions and get my full time area set up, and it's jacking my regular internet up. So I had to go back to the original setup. So hopefully that'll hold through this show, so we can talk about some football.
I know, man. Almost here. What we got? 40 days or so? 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean scrimmages start. I believe some start the first week in August.
Yeah, Cash. We got six AAA coming up next, man. Cash is steadily requesting six AAA. We got to do a little research on that one because that's a new area for us this year. So we got to do our homework on six AAA. It's
But
coming though. It's
it will
coming.
be coming. It's coming.
Yeah, I figured today we'll cover 7A first, man. Since we kind of did a halfway 6A show last time.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get this 7A in before the internet gods take us away. But if not, man, we'll roll into 6A.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. There's five of us that voted. We took an average of the finishes that we came up with. The number 8 team in 7A, Gordon Central.
Yeah, Gordon Central. I've actually seen a lot of them out on the 707 and the padded camp world. Uh, I heard. I think I heard from you maybe something about defensive end that was drawing some interest. That was looking real good at Gordon Central. What all you got on Gordon Central this spring?
Yeah, they got a tight end, DJ Fleetwood, man, that's got really good size, and they have a couple other big 6'3", 220 guys across the defensive front. Um, I think the problem for Gordon Central is the offense, man. I looked at the stats from last year; they only averaged about 150 yards a game. They're having to replace a quarterback. Um, I mean, if they can score some points, I think they can hang with some people because I think their defense is going to be really good. But I will say right here that I think they will break that 27 game winless streak this year. I don't know when, but I think they get a W this year.
You go week one with a shot.
I'm not sure who they have week one.
Southeast Whitfield.
Oh man, that's going to be a tough one.
That'll be a battle. I have to see. I
Yeah.
have to see
Hopefully they
what we
figure.
pick on that.
Yeah, hopefully they figure out something from last year, man, because they scored 43 points in week 10 last year. So if they can carry that over into this season, man, I think they'll be all right. The number 7 predicted team in 7A, Coosa Eagles. What you got on the Eagles?
Coosa Eagles, man. I watched a very good pregame or a preview show by Matt Davis and the guys. And I can't remember the radio station. I apologize. I was going to give them a plug, but man, I really enjoyed kind of meeting the new head football coach at Coosa. I really like his background and what he stands for, and he's excited about his program. He's excited about the athletes he has. He talked about them having a young offensive line, and we know some of the guys that's coming back. The one that stands out the most is the one that they named off pretty much first. Your linebacker there, Mr. East. That I mean, he's like all everything, and there's a good chance you might see him on offense a lot more too, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I've liked Harrison East, man, ever since I saw him up at Gordon Central. I think he was a freshman when I saw him, man. He just carried himself like a senior on the field, and like I said, I've heard good things about Coach Jeff Cannon also, and I think the Eagles are young. You know, it's kind of like we said off air, man. Any team in this region from 2 to 5 has a chance to compete for that second spot, man. They're wide open, and I think the Eagles are right there in the mix.
Yeah, I think they'll be improved over last year. I was trying to pull up their non-region schedule to see what it looks like they start out with here. Um,
We got Brooks Carter with us here. Voice only. He if it sounds like he's driving down the road, man, that's Brooks.
Yeah, I'm gonna get set up here momentarily. I kind
All
of
right,
I
man.
kind of run
I'm
again.
gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna stick you on mute till you get set up. All right, man. The number 6 predicted team in 7A, the Armurchie Indians. You got anything on the Armurchie Indians?
and Armurchie, you know, losing a lot off of last year's team. Pretty astounded amount of seniors, if I remember correctly. Remember how many seniors they had last year?
I think close to 16 or 18 starters.
Yeah, for single A, that's huge. The one thing you can count on in Armurchie is they're going to be physical with you, and they're not going to quit. And we've seen that over the last few years, and they've actually did a little more winning, lately than they have been. And I think they like the taste of that. And second year coach there, he likes what they're doing in the weight room, and I think that they're going to be improved as well. I think this whole region, man, you're going to have games in and out every week that are going to be close. And I think Armurchie is one of those teams that when you look at the end, they could have a couple more wins or a couple more losses, just depending on how the cookie crumbles. They say.
Yeah, I watched the WLAQ show with Coach Blue. He's really excited about this season. They're having to break in a new quarterback, Blaine Ragland. I think he only had a couple of snaps last year, but we saw him last year in that scrimmage in the second half of Christian Heritage. Man, real good athlete on both sides of the ball. Jackson Hightower, Hayden Phillips look like the guys that are going to be carrying the ball out of the backfield, getting it done on defense. Real young team. Don't have a lot of varsity experience, but a tough bunch. We were out there a couple of weeks for a combine, and a real enthusiastic bunch of kids. Man, I think they're ready for the season. Armurchie Indians got pegged at number 6 in 7A. Number 5, man, a team that you know a lot about, Chattooga Indians.
Yeah, Chattooga's bringing back probably just about as much as anybody in the region. Um, they've actually got two guys that have been, but kind of battling for a quarterback spot, and they're both returning players. If they don't start at one position, they'll probably be in another. Running back coming back. Offensive line play has been the bugaboo the last couple of years, and I think Coach Gable feels like they've got some of that fixed, and they're working hard to make sure that their line of scrimmage is better. And I think if it's better, you could see Chattooga improve from this 5 spot, like we said, all the way up to maybe even the 2-3 spot in this region. We all have a consensus number 1, and we'll reveal it later. But they just, I think Chattooga is capable of playing with just about anybody in this region.
Yeah, when you look at what they bring back on paper, man, they look just as good as anybody else in the region. You mentioned some of the guys they have coming back at the skill positions. I mean, definitely a lot of talent in the skill positions. I think this region is going to boil down to the offensive line.
Yeah.
I know Chattooga has some size on the offensive line, man, but it's just getting them to play. And like I said, I had them at 5th on my chart, but I could see them in 2nd place easily. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Chattooga guy, and I will just be straight honest with you. I had them at 5th in my chart too. I guess it's kind of, you got to show me a little bit, and I understand what they got coming back and the capabilities they'll have, and if they can just make that. I watched a lot of the games last year, and it seemed like if they could just make that one play, or do that one thing correctly, man, they could be a much better team. And I know you could say that about a bunch of different teams, but I think the record the last 2 years at 2-8, I think that's going by the wayside this year. I think they're going to win a few more games than that.
All right, our number 4 predicted team in 7A, Jeff Poston and his Dade County Wolverines.
Yeah, and Jeff Poston and the Wolverines is why I didn't have Chattooga any higher than 5 because I just can't. I can't look away from the hard nose defense. They're going to run the ball physically, and I don't care who graduated or what. They're going to find somebody to shove it up in there. I like they got a little jitterbug on the outside. I'm trying to think of his name. He's been there for about 3 years now.
Walker.
Receiver, yes,
Yeah,
and
Walker.
I like his
Walker.
ability. You know, throw him a little screen or throwing a deep ball. You know, he can get behind the defense. And they just keep finding folks, finding big guys for the offensive line. They may not be as big as they have been in the past, but I think they'll be plenty big and physical. And you know, you got to go to Magic Morgan. You're getting a test, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, they got a 1,300-yard quarterback coming back, and senior Bryson Schrader. You mentioned Demetrius Walker at wide receiver, a playmaker. 2 of their top 3 tacklers are returning on defense. And I heard from a little bird, man, from a Patty Camp this week. They look pretty good on the defensive side of the ball. Physical.
I heard the same thing. I heard run stoppers.
Yeah, they said they love to hit. I mean, which is not surprising with a Dade County football team, but they're looking to get back to the playoffs for an unprecedented 4 straight years up there, man.
Nice.
Number 3 predicted team. Like I said, man, you get up here in this top 4, you can probably flip a coin 2 through 4. Number 3, Christian Heritage, team we saw last year in the preseason scrimmage.
Yeah, you can start it off if you want.
Yeah, man, you know, bringing back a big quarterback, Carter Triplett, 2,400 total yards last year. A big kid, man. What, 6'2",
Yes,
6'3",
sir.
about 225. He can run, he can throw. I mean, they're bringing back their top 4 wide receivers. Charlie Idom, Idom, that's coming back after putting up 60 receptions last year. They got the top 2 rushers returning. I think they'll be good as far as the offense goes, man. I think offensively they might be one of the best teams in the region. The question for them is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. They return their leading tackler from last year, a freshman. So I think that's a knock against them, man, as they could give up a lot of points. But, I mean, with Carter Triplett as your quarterback, man, you can score with them.
What's the big guy, number 88?
Mitch Merhusen.
Mitch Merhusen. Yeah, I really like his size, man. He looks, man, when he's warming up, he looks like a beast out there, and he played pretty well too. He had some catches last year, and I'm sure he'll have a big year this year.
Let me give Brooks some hand signals here, man. See if you can see me over there. You good? All right.
I like it.
What's going on, Brooks?
Not much. How are my mic levels? They sound all right?
Oh, you sound good.
How's it going, guys? Sorry, being a little tardy here, but
No, it's good.
I'll just jump in where y'all left off. Talking about Christian Heritage, being a guy from the Dalton area. This is a program that's been pretty consistent overall. I think they've made, I want to say 4 or 5 consecutive playoff appearances. But their program really looking to go next level. They hired a coaching legend in Frank Barden, who's going into his 2nd year. They're investing a lot of money and resources into the football program. They're really trying to take this thing next level. And, you know, that's the name of the game right now. They're a private school too. They're kind of on an island. They're one of the only private schools kind of in that whole area. So I think they're going to be sneaky good this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if I picked them second. I think they're going to have a really good year.
Yeah, and
speaking
the
of
reason
second,
you pick them second because of the offense, you think, the offensive abilities?
Certainly. I mean, starting quarterback coming back, and I think they got some athletes that can separate them from some of the other teams in that single A class. And I don't think they're going to be back in the playoffs, especially with the way the private school bracket is set up with single A through triple A there. having their own bracket. It's just a matter of, how well are they going to compete in this region? Because as we talked about over the course of the week, it's going to be a gauntlet week, and there's several losable games, but also several winnable games. That's the definition of a swing game, right?
Yeah. I think the thing that we saw last year, Benton, I know we talked about it last year when we saw them, is how big they were in the skill positions. I mean, they got 2 or 3 wide receivers that probably go 6'1", 6'2", but the size of their offensive line, man, I think that's going to be the key for them. Their offensive line was really small.
That's what I was going to say. We were also making the comment that those guys were bigger than their offensive linemen. And, you can get it done multiple ways, especially if you're going to throw the ball around out of the shotgun like they were doing a lot. But when we watched them against Armuchee, I know that was early in the year last year, and they improved a bunch after that. They couldn't get the ball rolling on the ground. They were forced to throw, but they were able to, but they were forced to.
All right, our number 2 predicted team, man, which a lot of people are high on this team this fall. Gordon Lee, Coach Gross, and the Trojans.
Yeah, man, they got a abundance of talent, abundance of young talent that's coming up. Braden Stoker, man, he looks good on and off the field. We've seen him in the trials or whatever. What do we do? What do you call those? I can't remember. I don't do much of that because
the combine.
Yeah, the combine setting he did real well, which we knew he probably would because he moves his feet well. And he's a big kid, impressive, and looking for a D1 spot, it looks like. But besides them, they got others as well, and I'll let you talk about them.
Yeah, Brooks, you have anything to add on Gordon Lee?
Yeah, I just saw them in May. They played against Cahola Creek in their spring game, and I've seen them the last 2 years as well. They're really talented group. That junior class is really strong. And Braden Stoker's actually going to be a rising sophomore. I mean, that kid's massive. And he looks really good with the ball in his hands. I think Gross, coach's son at running back, he's really talented. They got a starting quarterback coming back. I think they're going to competing as well as they did, especially last year, making the playoffs in AAA, moving back down to single A. I think that bodes really well for them. I think they get a couple of good tests in the non-region with Tryon and Heritage playing up to 3A, playing against Heritage, I think. And then, Tryon, who has been a model of consistency with how successful they've been the last 2 years. They play them in games 1 and 3. I think those are going to be really good tests to get them sharpened up. And I'll be interested to see how well they can compete with those 2 teams before they get into region play.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now.
That's the thing I noticed.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to tell you right now. I seen that Tryon team, and they hadn't missed a beat really. It seems like even after losing, a good many kids. I mean, they had a couple, 2 or 3 running backs that come out there and made it look easy against Dalton. I'll say this: if Gordon Lee hangs around against Tryon, Gordon Lee could be the challenger in this region.
Yeah, that's the thing that I noticed when we went out there for that combine, man, is they have tons of speed. I think as far as team speed goes, they're probably the best team we tested this summer, just top to bottom. I think size is going to be the issue with them. I didn't see a lot of huge guys out there, when we went out there for the combine. Are they big enough to compete with some of these other teams in the region up front? We'll find out. But as far as speed on the outside, I mean, I think they may be the best team in 7A. From a speed standpoint, anyway. And the consensus number one team in 7A. Nobody, I don't think we had to debate this one too much. Fannin County Rebels. Brooks.
Yeah, I think I was just getting their schedule pulled up here. I mean, they've been good the last few years, and I think that's going to continue. I think being now in a situation where I think I saw someone almost say this as a criticism towards Fannin about how they came west. They didn't want to over in East Georgia anymore. Well, it's working for them. So why not come over and play these guys over in Northwest Georgia? I don't see any reason why they can't continue what they've been doing the last few years, making the playoffs and what is it? Six consecutive playoff appearances. I think they're looking to maybe get back. They're just a couple of years removed from back-to-back 10-win seasons. Had a first-round exit. We're a little down last year, but they got a lot coming back, and I don't see any reason why they shouldn't win this region, albeit it's going to be really tough. I mean, we just listed off several teams that made the playoffs last year. Gordon Lee, Dade County, who was in the second round of the playoffs last year. We're expecting, Chattooga to be improved. They've got a lot of great athletes. Christian Heritage has been in the playoffs the last 5 years. It's not going to be an easy task to win the region championship, but I think they're certainly capable of it.
Yeah, they're. I guarantee you they're happy to not see Rockmart or any of the teams like that in the region anymore. But when you look at their schedule, man, they're challenging themselves still. I mean, they have Gilmer to open up, and then they'll have Rabun County, which is normally perennial power, tough team. Then they have Union, and then they open up the region play. But if you look, they're at home against Gordon Lee. They're at home against Chattooga. They have a lot of the pivotal games at home, so I think that favors Fannin as well. But when you have a running back and a quarterback combination like Lawson Sullivan and Carson Callahan, it's going to be tough to overdo that. And defensively, man, they're always good. And the line of scrimmage is going to be good. Cheatham's going to have the line of scrimmage good. That. And I just think it's going to be tough to move the ball on them, and they're going to put up points.
Yeah, you mentioned Sullivan and Callahan. They bring back 3,800 yards of offense from last year. Two big offensive linemen up front, man, in Case Holloway, Jacob Dye, Cooper Bourne at linebacker. That's to me, that's the thing that stands out about Fannin is their size. They got 6 foot 200-pound linebackers across the field, and
Case Holloway sitting there at 6'2", 235.
Well, I'm at their results from last year too. I mean, they're just a play here and a play there away from having a much different looking record. Last year, they finished 500 in the regular season and made it back to the playoffs, but they lose 28-27 to Model. They lose 31-28 to North Murray. They lose 33-27 in the first round of North Cobb Christian. So, I mean, we're talking about they're 11 points away from 3 wins there, including a playoff game. I mean, they're 4 points away from hosting a playoff game last year, finishing second in that region. So they weren't far off from what they, want to be. And, if they can finish, I'm sure every coach in Northwest Georgia is finishing that, but especially a team like this that was so close to, they were good, but they weren't great last year. They were really close to being great. And I guarantee you that they're selling that, and I'd have to imagine their players are eating it up.
Yeah, and it's not like they need any inspiration, but they had a player killed in the offseason. I think they've dedicated this season to him, number 52. Give him a little extra push in the fall.
Yeah, tragic.
All right, guys, that concludes our 7A preview. We'll run them down right quick. Number 1, Fannin. 2, Gordon Lee. 3, Christian Heritage. 4, Dade. 5, Chattooga. 6, Armuchee. 7, Coosa. 8, Gordon Central. But as we said, man, any team from 2 to 8, I mean, it's up for grabs. Like I said, we'll recap our 6A preview show, man. We tried to do it last week, and we had some technical difficulties. So far, knock on wood, man, the internet's been good to us.
Yeah, so far we're hanging in there.
Yeah, so far, man, we're hanging in there. Number 7 in 6A, Haralson County. You got anything on Haralson, Benton?
Yeah, I learned last year doing our error-riddled show that they have a new head coach. And, I knew that because I think Peavy went somewhere toward Alabama, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Or that's what he was rumored. But But yeah, I really don't know. I don't know a whole lot about them besides I really love that stadium down there. I've been there a couple times down in the hole. Fun place to play. Nice jumbotron. Tough place to play. Normally they have a huge crowd, so that's about all I got.
Yeah, we
Casey, this is classic. This is classic wood paneling behind me, man. This is classic, 1960 model.
what I was going to say about Harrelson, I mean, I don't know what their offense is going to look like under Randy Crutchfield, but it was a very difficult offense to prepare for under Scott Peavy. It was a little unorthodox. It was different than something you'd see usually week to week. I remember they were in Ola's region back in the like 2018 and 19, and I remember playing down there. Like that tough place to play. They've got a lot of support for that program, and I think when the support's there, it's easy to build it back up. So I don't expect them to be down for long. But I am, usually their brand of football, at least under the previous coaching regime, was very physical. They were big and physical, and I imagine they're probably going to have something still that kind of like that. But I don't know, maybe the direction they wanted to go in is maybe a breath of fresh air on offense. I'm going to be really interested to see what that offense looks like. Because, I mean, it was like almost like toe-to-toe splits. We're running it with the tackles and very old school. I almost want to say if I'm remembering it right, it was almost like straight T or something like that. I can't remember exactly what that offense looked like. I may be confusing them with Woodland from a few years back. Woodland used to run a straight T offense as well, but it was something very old school and ground and pound. So I'll be curious to see what that offense looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the offense here in 18-19 was a straight T with Clay Hyatt running the ball 40 times a game. Everybody on the field knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming, and you couldn't stop it. Couldn't stop it.
Singer wing and a Notre Dame box, it says.
Yeah. Very, very young team this year. New coach. I know they'll be pretty big up front. A lot of experience coming back on the offensive line, which will help, that running game. But, I mean, they are in a tough region for a young team. 6 of these 7 teams were in the playoffs last year. Brutal schedule. We had a tie at number 5. Yep. We had a tie at number 5. 2 teams tied for our 5th place spot. We'll start with Pepperell Dragons.
And after voting for this, and after getting some more information, I think Pepperell might make a little more noise than 5. They got some transfers in from other schools that's going to, pay dividends. Starters, people that will step in that's got Friday night experience. They've got 2 running backs there that are really good. Obviously the one that's his brother was there, and then now he's there. But there was another, and I can't remember the guy's name. Yeah, Rogers. But there was another kid, and I want to call his name off, but I can't remember his name. But yeah, they said that those 2 are going to be able to do what?
Yeah, the quarterback Sam Ross was their leading rusher last year. He had like 900 yards on the ground.
Yeah, I remember him, but
dual threat QB.
It was a different name that the head coach had jotted off, but I don't remember his name at this point. So, but yeah, Sam Ross is going to be a big one. I like the positivity. I think that they got a good shot. If it wasn't because of this region being so difficult, there's no way I would have them at 5. But I think it's just going to be tough. I think they're going to beat up on each other. I like Pepperell probably 4 or 5. I think they could be a playoff team.
Well, I'm sitting here looking at their schedule. I think
their schedule's rough.
Well, and I think they could be a playoff team with the power ranking metric. I mean, they've got 2 AAA teams and then a 4A team. They play Cedartown, they play Adairsville, and they play Pickett, and also they play Christian Heritage in the non-region. So that's tough. I mean, playing on the road at Pickens, that's never an easy trip up there. They at least get Adairsville and Cedartown at home, the two of the 4 difficult ones there. But I mean, they gauntlet of a schedule, and that'll certainly get them prepared for this tough region. But as you mentioned, it's really hard to pick these teams. So something's got to give. I posted the graphic, I think back a couple of weeks ago, of the longest playoff streaks that we have active in the Northwest Georgia area of the 53 teams that we cover. And I want to say, like, of the top 15, like half of the teams were out of this region or something like that. It was, Heard County's has gone 19 years in a row. Pepperell's been going for almost a decade now. So they've got a lot of history, a lot on the line here to keep that streak going. They got a new head coach too. I think that's something that's going to be different. It's going to look different for the first time in a little over a decade with Rick Hurst not being there anymore and Brandon Haywood coming in. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he did some pretty good things at Woodland. We know that's probably one of the toughest jobs in our area, considering the region they've been in the last couple of years. But I think he did some really good things at Woodland. I'm excited to see what he can do at a place that's got kind of an established history there, a proud program.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, let me pose this question.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned Sam Ross, Tyler Rogers coming back. I think the game changer for Pepperell this year is going to be Sam Wooten, transfer over from Darlington. He's going to be big at the tight end spot, big at the linebacker spot for the Dragons. On my chart, I actually had Pepperell number 2, man. I think they're going to be the surprise team in this region.
I can see it. What happens, points wise, as far as the playoff points, if this region just beats itself up? I mean, how does that shake out? Would that keep teams from making it, or how would that? I mean, you got 5 potential 6 maybe playoff teams.
Your guess is as good as mine. I saw some coach on the WLAQ show the other day. He said he got about 2 sentences into the official rules and he just threw it in the trash. So yeah. We'll see how it goes as the season plays out.
Obviously, these are our teams in our area, so we want to build them up. But we're thinking that there could be a lot of parity from because of how good they are. But everyone says that about their region, about how difficult it is. Back a few years ago, the SEC, anytime they get 13 teams in a bowl game, and it's like, look how deep our league is, and we're like, yeah, the SEC beating their chest about it. Well, then the ACC does it, and it's like, well, they all suck, and like they had a 6-6 Syracuse team, so that didn't mean that's just because it's all mediocre football. So my point being, are these teams going to be eating each other up because of how good they are, or do you think anybody's going to be able to separate? And that's what there's so many regions like that. I feel like every region we've talked about so far is it's like, here's who we think is going to be number 1. And then after that, it's up in the air. And I'm so excited. 33 days, by the way, Lawrence, you asked,
33 days. Yeah. 33 days. Yeah. Our other number 5 team, Heard County Braves. Got anything on Heard County?
I'll say this. They've got Division I college football facilities down there now. I don't know if you have seen some of the videos that have been posted, but a single A team to have essentially an indoor practice facility. Now it's a covered canopy and then brand new weight room. I was just like drooling watching that video. It's unbelievable. Like, it might be if they can't win with those facilities, man, I don't know who could. I don't know. Yeah. So, it's impressive. And I think they're always pretty good. I think they got some good athletes down there, and I think they got a lot of positive momentum. Obviously, I think that makes players want to play for you. They're proud to play for the program when you have something as nice as what they've got down there. And it's just seeing if they can compete in this other difficult region like we were talking about. So
Yeah, they'll lose. They'll lose some talent. They lose LJ Green and a couple of other guys, but the Tisdale guy, Ethan Tisdale, he's back, correct?
Yeah, he is a rising sophomore.
Yeah, and he
Had
was
1,600 total yards last year.
as a freshman. Yeah, and they also
They
had
return,
a couple other backs with 500 yards or more rushing. So.
Yeah, they returned 4 wide receivers that had a lot of catches last year. Antonio Heath coming back in the backfield. He had 74 carries last year, leading tackler. Max Lassiter. They have a good core of talent coming back. You know, they like you said, they did lose a couple of key players, but I mean, I think it's a very prideful program. You know, from our man Charles. I mean, they love Heard County down there. You know, and with that indoor practice facility, man, there.
They did again.
Number 4.
I was just going to add that in real quick. They go on the road to Bowden right before region play starts, so that's always that's going to be a fun one to watch. Usually is, and that'll be it then before they get into region play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Number
I've
14,
already
man.
I
This
talked to
is
some people who matched up. Sorry, who matched up against Bowden in one of the padded camps, man, and they said you better bring it because they still got it. They got it.
It says Ethan's added 20 pounds of muscle and hasn't quit working. Heath is a beast. Don't sleep on the Braves. Tim Barron is there coaching backers. Yeah, Tim Barron came back from Villa Rica, back there on the staff at Heard County. Took him to the state championship, in 2018. Number 14, man. A team that's a surprise to me. I know nothing about the Model Blue Devils. You got anything on the Model Blue?
They've got to be younger because they graduated a good bit of their talent. I know quarterback finally graduated, the big tackle or defensive player / tight end, whatever he played, he graduated. I'm not sure what they're returning. I haven't seen a lot. I haven't heard one peep from them as far as like any kind of news. But I don't know. Do you know anything about them?
Oh, I watched Coach Honeycutt on the WLAQ show the other night, man, and he was talking about the experience that's returning. He says that there's only 6 players on the team that are returning with any meaningful varsity experience. Very, very young staff. I mean, a very young crew.
Normally you would, pair that with being, not as good of a team, but I mean, this is a heck of a coach we're talking about here. And storied program. I mean, these kids, they might be ready just to step right in, even though they hadn't had their opportunity yet.
Yeah, I saw some video from. Yeah, I saw some video from the paddy camp they had down at Bowden earlier this summer, man, and there were some guys out there with size that looked like they could hit. I went back on the Max Preps roster, tried to find them. I didn't see them listed, so I figured they must be young guys. But like you said, probably one of the best coaching staffs on defense that we have in this area. I think they'll be ready to play come fall. Brooks, you have anything?
Yeah, I think I would kind of agree with the sentiment that Benton just made of, when you start establishing that winning consistency, even if you don't have a ton of returning starters, I feel like that just kind of gets embedded in the program. And they've made the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years. They made the second round of the playoffs last year, and when you get into that, engrossed in that winning culture, I don't think it always is as big of a deal. When you don't have a ton of returning starters, obviously, that helps. But I think with a program that's been as consistent as they've been the last 5 years, like I said, just missed the playoffs one time. I think they're going to have a chance to get back there again this year. And thing I was looking at is they got a couple of. Their non-region is really stacked. They play a Sonoraville team that's probably going to be pretty solid. I think we have them top 4 in our picks for 7-2A.
Yeah.
Tough region. They play at Cass week 2, and better buckle up your chin strap for that game if you're Model. And then they play at Tryon. So that's two really tough road games before they get into region play.
Yep. Number 3 predicted team in 6A. Coach Nix and his Temple Tigers. Brooks, you have anything on Temple?
I think this is the year that Temple breaks through. I think they got a ton of athleticism. When I say breakthrough, this is a school that's been around since the 90s. Did you know they've never won more than 6 games in a season? That's shocking. That's their school.
Mhm.
They've done it a number of times. 6 wins. I think this is their year that they finally break through. Manny Watkins, I think, is going to do really. Coastal Carolina commit. I think he's going to be the catalyst for that offense, and I'm excited to see this team this year.
Yeah, man, these guys are loaded with talent. When you go down their roster, I like the quarterback coming back. Gribben, he runs that offense well. It's tough to identify who's getting the ball, and it doesn't matter who they give it to. They have C.J. Gray. They have a bunch of different guys that they can turn it to. And, C.J. went over 1,300 yards last year. I'm sure he'll do even more of that this year. I guess the question is, what are we returning as far as offensive and defensive lines? They had a pretty decent sized line last year, and they were pretty good. If that is intact, there is plenty of skill to make a big run right here from Temple.
Yeah, you hit on it, man. I think Temple returns possibly the best skill players in the region. Coach Nix's son is back this year after breaking his leg last year in the first game of the season. He'll be at linebacker. Real tough kid. Coach Nix, man, he has those kids buying into the program. Great guy. Has done a lot for the program in a couple of years he's been there. C.J. Gray, Casey Bass just said one of the best backs in the area. Absolutely. I saw him last year at a Patty camp at Rockmart. Tough kid.
Quick.
Yeah, quick, yep. And solid, man. Solid kid.
Oh, yeah.
Casey says C.J. Gray is one of the best backs in the area, playing big back for Evan Hossesser's wing T. Oh, wing T, huh? Coach Nix run that wing T up there?
Yes, sir. And it's tough. It's tough to tell. I mean, they'll hit you with a little counter tray or a little buck action, and it's counter crisscross, and you're just looking around for the ball. I mean, don't know where it's at.
Yeah, Brooks kind of brought it up. I mean, I think Manny Watkins is going to be a bigger part of the offense this year. He only caught a handful of passes last year. Fast guy, tough to cover. Like I said, they're a run-first offense, but I mean, if he gets involved, I think they could compete for the number 1 spot in this region.
Yeah, with the quarterback, getting a year older, that play action game should be wide open to Watkins.
One thing I found interesting
in our number 2 team. Go ahead, Brooks.
Fascinated by this power ranking stuff this year with the way that scheduling teams in higher classifications when you're in the lower classifications. 2 of the last 2 teams we've done have been Heard County and Temple. They both have this Clarkston team on their schedule who is in 4A, and they went 1-9 last year. And I think that's kind of right. You gotta schedule a really bad. If you're down in single A, double A, you schedule some really bad team up out of 4 or 5A. You can probably
beat. Absolutely.
Get 2 bonus points or 3 bonus points for beating somebody in 4A if single A.
Yeah, I know we were talking about in our chat. Yeah, I know we were talking about in our chat one day. There's some team in 2A, Columbia maybe, who was 0-10 last year. They're like 0-10 last year, but they went out and scheduled Cartersville. I think they're playing Creekside. I think they're playing a bunch of teams 4 and 5A.
Finals last year. If thinking about the same team, there's a team that's got an insane schedule, but that's just something I was kind of thinking about. I think a lot of these programs up in 4 and 5, 6A that usually are not very competitive at all. A lot of teams in single A and double A knocking on their door here the longer this power ranking goes on.
Oh yeah. Temple's got McNair as well, which is the sub 500 team out of 4A last year.
All right, man. Our number 2 predicted team in 6A, Darlington Tigers. You guys know anything about the Tigers? They've been kind of quiet this offseason.
I know we've talked about players that have transferred out of Darlington, the quarterback, Rockmart, and then you just mentioned a guy that transferred to Pepperell. So two, what we've established as being two key pickups for Rockmart and Pepperell. What does that look like from a player personnel standpoint at Darlington? And I think that's a big question. It was, they've lost a couple of guys that were obviously contributors for them last year, one of them being the quarterback. So that's a huge question mark, I would say. And they took a little bit of a step back after losing the coaching legend who I'll have to look his name up. I just forgot his name for a second. The man that was at Darlington.
Tommy Atha. Coach Atha. He was
2 decades. So they took a little bit of a step back last year, but still made the playoffs. And I'll be curious to see if they can bounce back in year 2 under their new coach.
Yeah, I think at quarterback, I think they'll be fine. They got Sammy Konchesky. He'll be there. He played and started for the first part of the year last year. Very capable running and throwing. I think where they'll take the most hit is, defensively. Now, obviously, they have pretty good players to put in those spots, but I don't know if they're as deep or as good as they would have been with those other guys, obviously. Miles Twyman is one of those guys on offense. I think you can hand him the ball. He's going to be a spark plug. He'll have a bunch of yards, pass or receiving and rushing this year. I think, I wouldn't look for Darlington to be down too much. I think they'll be just fine, and they'll probably finish toward the top of the region like we have them predicted.
I would expect the same. I was just kind of looking through some history there. I mean, even with Wayne Groves there as the coach going into his second year, this team has not had a losing season since 1993. That is 31 years old. I know that off the top of my head because I was born in 1993. So that's my entire lifetime have gone without having a losing season. So I just don't see this team being able to drop off even more than they did last year. I expect them to build it back. That was the first time they've had less than 7 wins in 2008. So I expect a big bounce back from them this year. I think they'll be competing in the top 3 spots in the region, even with some of the players they lost with transfers out.
Yeah, I agree. I personally had them at 4th when I filled out my sheet. Like I said, I had Pepperell at number 2. Like I said, I have no idea what they're bringing back. I have no idea. I haven't seen them this summer. We'll find out in how many days? 33 days?
That's probably the way they like it, Lawrence. They don't want us talking about them.
I thought Casey was talking about Benton, but he meant Stat. Stat.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. I think our consensus number 1 pick for 6A, Bremen Blue Devils. Got anything on Blue Devils, Benton?
Got a lot of returning, lot that I like. It's going to be.
I think we lost Benton in the final seconds of the show. How about that? Hey, we made it. We made it to the.
Almost all the way. You ran out of gas.
Almost all the way.
I'm gonna go ahead and finish.
Wait.
I think I'm on.
Go ahead.
There he is. Go ahead and finish your thought.
No, you're good. I'm gonna regroup here. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'll go ahead and finish my thought here because I think I'm running on less than 10% battery on my phone. So we're fighting to the finish here too. All of us are like Bremen. I mean, they were a late touchdown away from winning a pretty tough Region 6-3A last year. Lost at Adairsville. I think that game was 28-21, something like that. But they were the only team out of that region that made it to the second round of the playoffs. And that's just a tough place to go play there. I really like what they've continued to do with the program. I think they're going to benefit big time from getting back down, playing up in AAA, which I think is the highest classification they've ever played in. Getting back down to single A, where they have been probably for the majority of their program's history, I think is going to be a big deal. And I expect them to win this region. They were my number one pick. I think they got a lot coming back. They are stingy on defense. I mean, they had the best defense in Region 6-3A last year. I kept up with it week to week because they were in the region with Cola Creek, and man, they're and the biggest thing for them too is they're back in a region that's very local to them, where they're going to have a lot of travel eliminated. They struggled a lot on the road the last couple of years in that region. Although they were still able to win a lot of games on the road, they struggled against teams like, I think they had to go to triple overtime to beat a 2-8 Lafayette team last year. Because, I mean, that's a 2-hour drive up into the mountains of Northwest Georgia. They won't have to make road trips like that anymore. I think that's going to be a big benefit for them.
Lawrence?
Let's see. Casey says, couldn't agree more, but Bremen is looking good. Ton of college players on the roster. Rooster is the best D coordinator in the state. Creative offense. So happy this region is back. I know a lot of people in that West Georgia area are excited about this region. They don't have to travel far. Kind of roam maybe once or twice a year, and everything else is in their backyard. One of the players I want to mention on the Bremen team, Trent McPherson, man, I think he's probably the most underrated player in the region. Shorter status guy, 5'6", 5'7", but the kid can fly, man. Absolutely one of the fastest kids I've seen around. Tough. The Devils are going to be able to throw the ball, run the ball. Good on the defensive side of the ball. I like them here at 1, a solid 1.
All right.
All right, guys, we made it. We made it through most of the show without any problems. How about that? We'll be back. Promise you. Cash Watkins, a promise, man. 6 AAA is coming up next. 6 AAA is on tap. We got to do some research, but it is coming. They have a 50-yard place kicker, as always, man, for Bremen. So they got special teams down also. Casey, if you need any help, man, Hagen is wood. If you need help with your wood paneling, call me, man. I'll get you squared away.
Lawrence, who else in that 6-3A region off the top of your head?
White County, Dawson County, Lumpkin.
That's what I was thinking. All right. I'll have to break out like a Bell Elliott t-shirt.
There you go.
Yeah.
I got a Chase t-shirt probably.
That's about all I know
all right,
about.
fellas, we'll see y'all next time.
All right, we'll see you.